Hey everybody, Pastor Vern for February 8th. It's a Monday, second week in February already. A lot of stuff going on as we move towards our time of Lent. A week from Wednesday will be Ash Wednesday, and we'll be into that Lenten season. Keep tuned in to the things that you can hear from church about some studies about our special services that are coming up. Make sure you kind of watch out for that stuff as we go along. Okay, we've been talking about some things with the Jewish traditions and how they saw their relationship with God and how they nurtured their relationship with God. And one of the ways that they nurtured their relationship with God was they were known as the book people. Okay? They were known the book people because, and this is tradition they passed down to us Christians, and when we talk about the book in Christianity, we talk about the Holy Bible, the combination of the Old and New Testament. In their case, of course, it would have been the Torah and the prophets, basically the Old Testament. And at the time that they were in Jesus's time, books were very rare. Writings were very rare. They were expensive. Everything had to be done by hand and hand copied. And we're going to get to that in a second. But to being known as people of the book was important because so many of the pagan religions that surrounded them was all ritual and oral tradition. Now, a good share of the Old Testament is written down from the oral traditions of the Hebrews, but at some point they decided to record it in a fashion that could be shared in on paper in words, and it gave them a great strength in the position of the religions of the day because they had the book. They could go look it up. What does God say about whatever, especially about the law? Where in the pagan traditions around them, if it wasn't part of the ritual, which was sometimes made up on the spot by whoever's leading whatever type of a meeting they were having, and also being from an oral tradition, you know how that is. You ever done a little exercise where you have several people in a room and you give somebody a sheet of paper with a phrase on it, and then that person whispers the phrase to the next person, the next person, the next person, and by the time you get around the circle, you have that person tell you what the phrase they got is, and often it's very different than the way you started out, whether it's the phrasing or even the meaning by the time it gets there. And so the people of the book had this advantage that things were constant, that God had a constant presence in the way that he had approached his people over the centuries. And of course, in order for that to be legitimate, they had a master copy of the scriptures in the temple in Jerusalem. Now, unlike a lot of other things that were written down at the time, there were some other books, I guess you would say, is often they were done by transcripting orally. Someone would sit at one location in a room and another person at the desk, he would read it and they would transcribe it, right? So we pick a phrase from the scriptures, say something like Jesus calls out the demons, calls the demon out of the man. What does it sound like if I'm writing it down, somebody else is reading it to me? We could get a word changed. We could misinterpret what he said. Our hearing's imperfect. We are prone to errors. And that's why they had a master copy of the scriptures. And that master copy, when additional copies were made, it was made directly from the manuscript, not through an oral tradition, not through one reading to another. You would sit with the manuscript on one side and you would be on the other side and you would copy it character for character, right? And so that was important. Now, the master copy was kept in the temple in Jerusalem until it was destroyed in 70 AD. But fortunately, because they were so meticulous in their in the way that they copied it, there was no big discretions on what it said, because every synagogue had its own copy, copied from the original manuscript in a cabinet that faced towards Jerusalem. Their tradition could not be lost. They protected it and guarded it well. We maybe ought to keep that in mind. I know the story of I was told this story by a man a few years ago in a certain community where they came from a place where the Bible was banned, where it was taken away from the people in order to try to control them politically and take away their God in order to make the state the most important part of their life. This was in a European setting, and they said that at one point a fellowship of Christians that it's kind of legendary. They assigned verses to everyone to memorize, and the reason they assigned verses to everyone to memorize is that if they ever had this situation where all of their Bibles, all of their scriptures were taken away and destroyed, and they had no way to access them anymore, they could put the scriptures together by memory through their members. Now, that's imperfect, but boy, that's a lot better than not having the availability at all. See how important the scriptures have been through history. Whether it's the Jewish tradition of the master copy in the temple, or a group of Christians who spend time memorizing certain scriptures so that if their sacred books were ever destroyed, they could put it back together. Think about that one a little bit. Take good care of yourselves, watch out for others, stay safe. See you later.